Hello students, welcome to the logic class. Today we are going to start a new chapter, that is your symbolic logic, and this is your 5th unit. All of you know Aristotle is the father of deductive logic. He was the first philosopher who had given us a system of reasoning known as deductive logic. In deductive logic, the best form of argument is your syllogism, and here Aristotle has also given us certain rules by which we can determine which syllogistic argument is correct, which syllogistic argument is incorrect, which syllogistic argument is valid and which is invalid. And to this extent, Aristotelian logic is complete. But there is one difficulty here. We use a lot of arguments in our daily life. There are innumerable arguments we use every day in our daily life and in science, in arts, everywhere. And all the arguments are expressed in our ordinary language. So, a difficulty arises when there are so many arguments, how to test which argument is correct and which argument is incorrect. How to determine this becomes a very difficult task. So, Aristotle systematized all the arguments into different forms like figures and moods. He also used certain symbols like M, P and S. You know, M means middle term, P means your major term and S means your minor term. So, Aristotle also used certain symbols, and with the help of these symbols, he could symbolize the arguments. So, it becomes easier on our part to know which argument is valid, which argument is invalid. These symbols P, M and S, these are the variables for some terms. These are used for the terms major term, minor term and middle term. Modern logicians have improved upon this symbolization. So, you came to know the contributions of Aristotle. आमको Aristotle symbolic logic देइथिले. Symbolic logic रे सबुठो important argument हैला तुमरा syllogism. केवल जे syllogism देइथिले सेटा नुहे. Syllogistic arguments भितरु कोउटा valid कोउटा invalid सेटा जानिबा पई आमको rules मध्य देइथिले. तेणु एटा होची तांकर मेन कंट्रीब्यूशन. तापर जेहेतु आमर आर्ग्युमेंट्स आमे बहुत आर्ग्युमेंट यूज करूछु सेठी वैलिड इनवैलिड जानिबा बहुत डिफिकल्ट जेहेतु आर्ग्युमेंट्स गुडा ऑर्डिनरी लैंग्वेज रे यूज होचे. तेणु से कौन कले सब आर्ग्युमेंट गुडा को सिस्टमैटाइज करिकरी कले केते गुडे फॉर्म को कले लाइक योर फिगर्स एंड मूड्स. आउ से सिम्बल्स भी यूज करथिले. एटा नुहे जे से मोटे सिम्बल्स यूज करि नथिले, से मध्ये सिम्बल्स यूज करथिले लाइक योर P, M, S जोटा तुम्हें सिलोजिज्म रे करूछ मेजर टर्म, माइनर टर्म एंड मिडिल टर्म. सो So, this is the contribution of Aristotle, and modern logicians they improved upon this symbolization. Now, Aristotelian logic is also known as traditional logic or classical logic, and we have also symbolic logic. So, this symbolic logic is a new development of traditional logic. This symbolic logic is called symbolic logic because it uses symbols more than the traditional logic. Traditional logic रे जेतिकी symbol use होउथिला, symbolic logic रे ताठो बेसी symbol use हैला. There are some modern logicians, and some those modern logicians have also introduced, they have also given us some important theories. They have given us some important theories, and symbolic logic includes these important theories, these important discoveries in it. Symbolic logic is not totally different from the traditional logic, because some of the important theories of the traditional logic or the classical logic are also included in your symbolic logic. Okay? तेणु symbolic logic रे कौन हैला जो modern logicians माने थिले से माने जो important discoveries सब कले symbolic logic रे सेटा include हैला. ता सहित जो गुड़ा आम क्लासिकल लॉजिक और अरिस्टोटेलियन लॉजिक रे इंपॉर्टेंट थियोरीज गुड़ा थिला से गुड़ा मध्य सेइथरे इंक्लूड हैला. सो क्लासिकल लॉजिक और अरिस्टोटेलियन लॉजिक and symbolic logic, they are not two different types of logic. They are not two different kinds of logic. Rather, they represent the two different stages of development of the logic. Aristotelian logic or classical logic is the earlier stage of development of the logic, and symbolic logic is the latter stage of development of the logic. तेणु आमे ट्रेडिशनल लॉजिक आउ सिंबॉलिक लॉजिक ए दुईटा को अलगा अलगा बोली कहिबा नाही. सेम लॉजिक किंतु गोटे शीघ्र होइतला अर्लियर स्टेज ऑफ डेवलपमेंट. इन द प्रोसेस ऑफ डेवलपमेंट one is earlier, one is later, but they are not two different types or kinds of logic. Now, according to C.I. Lewis, there are three different characteristics of symbolic logic. C.I. Lewis कहले symbolic logic रे तीनिटा characteristics अच्छी. So, what are those characteristics? Those characteristics are use of deductive method, then second use of ideograms, and the third one is use of variables. Here your question comes, what are the characteristics, what are the features of symbolic logic? Explain or differentiate between the traditional logic or Aristotelian logic and symbolic logic. This type of questions come here. So, the first one is use of deductive method. Where do we use deductive method? We use deductive method in mathematics. Mathematics रे आमे deductive method use करूछु. Traditional logic is not connected with mathematics, whereas symbolic logic is very closely connected with mathematics. So, in mathematics we use deductive method. Traditional logic टा mathematics सहित एते connected नुहे, किंतु symbolic logic mathematics सहित बहुत closely connected. ये जो डिडक्टिव लॉजिक आमे मैथमेटिक्स रे यूज करू केमिति यूज करू. सपोज इन मैथमेटिक्स आमर गोटे फॉर्मूला अच्छी. From that formula we deduce another formula, gote formula आउ गोटे formula रू आमे deduce करूचु. So there we use deductive method. Similarly in geometry you have some axioms, you have definitions. From those axioms, from those definitions you deduce many propositions. So in mathematics we use deductive method, and symbolic logic also uses the deductive method of the mathematics in a much more systematic manner. Symbolic logic मध्य ए deductive method टाको बहुत भलो भाबरे use करूछि, and by using the deductive method symbolic logic has improved itself, has developed itself like anything. तेणु mathematics रो साहाय्य नैछि symbolic logic. Similarly in symbolic logic we use some signs and symbols. Symbolic logic माने एथिरे आमे बहुत गुडे साइन आउ सिंबल यूज करूछु. मैथमेटिक्स कौन कला, मैथमेटिक्स आल्सो टेक्स द हेल्प ऑफ दीज सिंबल्स एंड साइंस. ए जो सिंबल आउ साइन सबू आमर थिला सिंबॉलिक लॉजिक रे से गुडा को मैथमेटिक्स नेला, एंड मैथमेटिक्स आल्सो improved itself with the help of those symbols and signs, and mathematics nowadays it has become error free by the use of the symbols and signs. So mathematics depends on the deductive depends on the symbolic logic, and symbolic logic also depends on the mathematics. Okay. Now you know that in logic we study arguments. Logic रे हमें arguments पढ़ुछु, and here we determine which arguments are valid, which arguments are invalid. आमे केवल जो लॉजिक रे आर्ग्यूमेंट पढ़ुछु सेटा नुहे, आमे सेठी डिटरमिन करूछु, देखुछु को आर्ग्यूमेंटा वैलिड, को आर्ग्यूमेंटा इनवैलिड. So how do we consider that the argument is a valid argument? केमिति आमे जानुछु जे आर्ग्यूमेंट वैलिड आर्ग्यूमेंट? When the conclusion necessarily follows from the premises, then the argument is said to be valid. जेते बेले गोटे आर्ग्यूमेंट रे conclusion टा premises रु follow करूछि, necessarily follow करूछि, सेही argument टा होछि valid. But the question is, how do we know that the conclusion follows necessarily from the premises? केमते हमें जानिबो जे conclusion टा follow करूछि बोली? We can know that the conclusion follows from the premises from the logical relation that holds between the two premises. एठी गोटे आर्ग्यूमेंट देखो, if there is sun then there is light. Minor premise, there is sun, therefore there is light. So here the conclusion follows from the two premises taken jointly. आमे केमिति जानुछु जे conclusion follow करूछि? From the logical relation that holds between the two propositions. ए जो दुईटा proposition अछि, if there is sun then there is light and there is sun. ए जो दुईटा proposition, ए दुईटा proposition भितरे गोटे रहिछि logical relation. If there is logical relation between these two propositions, then we can know that the conclusion follows from the premises. If there is no logical relation between these two propositions, then conclusion will not follow from the premises. जदि ए दुईटा premise भितरे कोनोसी प्रकार relation न थांता, ताहेले आमे conclusion आउ पाई न थांते. So the conclusion follows from the premises. It can be known from the logical relation between the two premises. Okay? And the logical relation between the two premises is possible because of the logical form of the proposition. Okay? So, dekho, if there is sun, then there is light. Ethi there is sun is one proposition, there is light is another proposition. Ethi logical form kota? Logical form hochi if then. If then is the logical form of the proposition. Okay. So, logical relation between these two propositions is possible because of the logical form of the proposition. तेणु लॉजिकल फॉर्म टा होची बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट आमको लॉजिकल फॉर्म टा देखिबा को पड़िबो व्हाट इज द लॉजिकल फॉर्म वी हैव टू ब्रिंग इट आउट क्लियरली देखिबा को पड़िबो जे कोटा लॉजिकल फॉर्म एंड टू शो दिस लॉजिकल फॉर्म symbolic logic uses some symbols and some signs. symbolic logic केते गुडे symbol और sign use करे ए लॉजिकल फॉर्म को जानिबा पाई लॉजिकल फॉर्म को देखैबा पाई. ओके नाउ यू नो दैट वी यूज आर्ग्यूमेंट्स एंड इन लॉजिक वी स्टडी द डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ आर्ग्यूमेंट्स. these arguments are expressed in our ordinary language. ये जो आर्ग्यूमेंट वर्तमान तुम्हें देखुच से आर्ग्यूमेंट भी आमर ऑर्डिनरी लैंग्वेज रे एक्सप्रेस होइछे सेमिति आमर सबु आर्ग्यूमेंट गुडा आमे ऑर्डिनरी लैंग्वेज रे एक्सप्रेस करूछु. एंड यू नो ऑर्डिनरी लैंग्वेज इज वेरी ऑफन कंफ्यूजिंग एंड इट इज आल्सो भेग. So, in most cases we cannot know, it becomes difficult on our part to know whether the conclusion follows from the premises or not. What is the logical relation between the premises? We also cannot know definitely. And what is the logical form of the proposition? That also we cannot know definitely. जदि आमर ऑर्डिनरी लैंग्वेज रे आमे एक्सप्रेस करूछु आमर आर्ग्यूमेंट तो यही असुविधा सब होउची. फॉर दैट symbolic logic devised another language which is known as symbolic language. Okay? That symbolic language consists of some signs and symbols. तेणु यही ऑर्डिनरी लैंग्वेज रे जेतेबेले आमर आर्ग्यूमेंट को आमे एक्सप्रेस करूछु सेठी आमर बहुत प्रकार डिफिकल्टीज बाहरुछे. कंक्लूजन फॉलो करूछि ना नहीं आमे जानि परिबनी. दीटा प्रेमिस भितर लॉजिकल रिलेशन अछि ना नहीं भी जानि परिबनी. लॉजिकल फॉर्म ता मध्य क्लियरली जानि परिबनी. सेथि पई गोटे लॉजिकल लैंग्वेज से माने डेवलप करले को माने मॉडर्न लॉजिशियंस माने गोटे लॉजिकल लैंग्वेज डेवलप कले. से लॉजिकल लैंग्वेज भितर कौन रहिला ता भितर रहिला साइंस एंड सिंबल्स. So, with the help of these signs and symbols we can rewrite the argument. We can rewrite the argument. We can symbolize the argument. We can write the argument in symbolic form. जदि symbolic form रे हमें argument टाको लिखि दबा ताहेले बहुत सहजरे we can know whether conclusion follows from the premises. We can know the logical relation between the premises and also we can know clearly the logical form of the propositions and logical form of the arguments. Okay? So, this is your symbolic logic. Now, the next one is use of ideograms. Next characteristic of symbolic logic is use of ideograms. Ideograms are different from phonograms. What do we mean by phonograms? Phono means sound and gram means symbol. When I am saying something to you, I make some sound. ମୁଁ ଯେତେବେଳେ କହୁଛି ମୁଁ କିଛି sound ତିଆରି କରୁଛି. So this is your phonogram because I am making some sound. So this is phonogram. And what is ideograms? Ideograms are the signs, these are the symbols which directly stand for the concepts. Ideograms गुड़ा होची signs or symbols जो गुड़ा की concept पाई use हुए. Suppose if I say 2 plus 3 is equal to 5. So here I am making some sound. So this is your phonogram. But if I write it in letter, in numbers, 2 plus 5, 2 plus 3 is equal to 5, then that becomes your ideogram. When I say 6 divided by 2 is equal to 3, this is your phonogram. किंतु मु जदि लेखिबी जे 6 नंबर रे लेखिबी 6 divided by 2 is equal to 3, this will be your ideogram. ओके तेणु ideogram माने कौन ये डायरेक्टली कॉन्सेप्ट पाई स्टैंड करे एटा होची सिंबल और साइंस किंतु फोनोग्राम कौन इट मेक्स सम साउंड इट स्टैंड्स फॉर द sounds, this is phonogram. So this is the difference between ideograms and phonograms. Your question comes, what is an ideogram, what is a phonogram, differentiate between ideogram and phonogram like this. In symbolic logic also we use some ideograms. Now what are the ideograms? For either or we use a V sign, V परी गोटे साइन दो सेटा को कहा जाए आइदर और पाई सेटा यूज हुए. सो दैट इज योर इडियोग्राम. फॉर एंड वी राइट ए डॉट, एंड पाई आमे गोटे डॉट लिखु से डॉट टाकू कहा जाउची इडियोग्राम. सेमिति फॉर इफ देन वी यूज ए हॉर्स शू साइन एंड दैट हॉर्स शू साइन इज द इडियोग्राम. देन for not both and we use a sign that is the reverse V, V रो उल्टाटा लिखु, that is also an ideogram. For if and only if we use 3 parallel lines, so that is also ideogram. So these are the different ideograms we use in symbolic logic. Okay. So now the last characteristic of symbolic logic, variables, the use of variables. What is this variable? Variable means whose meaning is not fixed. The meaning varies, the meaning changes from time to time, that is called variable. जहार मीनिंग टा सब बेले चेंज हो जाउतिबो सेटा को कहा जाए variable. तुम्हें जिते बड़े मैथमेटिक्स करूच यू नो यू यूज सम वेरिएबल्स x y z एगुड़ा सब वेरिएबल्स कारण बेले बेले x पई यू राइट 2, समटाइम्स फॉर x यू राइट 3, समटाइम्स फॉर x यू राइट 5 लाइक दिस. सो x कैन टेक एनी वैल्यू, x can be used for 2, for 3, for 4, for 5. Similarly, y and z are also used like this. So x, y, z, they do not have any fixed meaning. तांकर किछि fixed meaning नहीं. They vary from time to time. Okay. Similarly, here also in symbolic logic we use some variables. केते गुडे variable आमे use करो. And these variables are used for the propositions. Some propositions are there and for those propositions we use those variables. Those are known as propositional variables. Propositional variables. So what are the propositional variables? को propositional variable हमें use करूँ P, Q, R and S. So P, Q, R, S, these are known as propositional variables. Okay. Achha. Now, apart from this variables, there is another sign which is known as constant. Constant means, as the name suggests, constant, that means its meaning is fixed. Its meaning is fixed. It does not vary. It does not change from time to time. एटा change हुएनी. आर meaning टा सब बड़े समान रहे. जेमिति in your mathematics you have some signs plus, minus, division, multiplication. These are the signs and the meaning always remains same. Plus means addition. Subtraction, minus means subtraction. तेणु यार meaning टा सब बड़े समान थाए. एटा vary करेनी. In that way, here also in symbolic logic we use some constants, and these constants, the meaning always remains same, meaning is constant, it does not vary from time to time. Okay? Suppose you take one example, if there is rain, then the ground is wet, ground will be wet. There is rain, for there is rain we can write P, ground will be wet, for that we can use Q. So, what will we say? If P then Q, if P then Q. Here P and Q are the variables. এই দুইটাକୁ କୁହାଯାଉଛି variables, propositional variables. They are used for propositions. These are propositional variables. But if then, this is the form of the proposition. This is the form of the proposition. If then, and, either or, if and only if, not both and. These are all the forms of propositions. The signs or the symbols which are used to express the form of the proposition are known as constants. जो साइन जो सिंबल से फॉर्म पाई यूज हुए सेटा को कुहा जाए constants or logical constants. Okay? So, here now I discussed the characteristics of the symbolic logic. The first one is use of deductive method, second one is use of ideograms, then the third one is use of variables, and we also discussed the constants. तेणु तुम माने जानिलो को गुडा variables को गुडा constants. Now, with the help of variables and constants, we can symbolize the arguments, we can symbolize the propositions. Okay? We can write the propositions, we can write the arguments in symbolic form with the help of variables and constants. Now, you see these are the following logical constants. For negation, negation means not. We use a curl sign, curl, that is said to be not. For negation or not, we use a curl sign. For implication, implication mane hela if then. For if then, we use a horseshoe sign. I have given the symbols horseshoe sign. For conjunction, that is and, conjunction mane and, I use a dot. There is a dot sign here. For and we use dot. Then disjunction. Disjunction means either or. For either or we use a sign V, V sign, either or. Then alternation. Alternation means not both and. So, here I use a reverse V sign, ulta V sign for alternation or not both and. Then equivalence. Equivalence means if and only if. Here I use 3 parallel lines. This is the logical constant. So, all these symbols are the logical constants. These logical constants are also known as logical connectives. ताकु logical constants को मध्य logical connectives कहा जाए. Okay? Because they connect different propositions. विभिन्न proposition को सेमाने जे हेतु connect करंती तांको कहा जाए logical connectives. ये जो symbols गुड़ा तुम्हें देखिलो ता भितरु जो not sign टा अछि curl sign, that sign is a basic constant, that is a fundamental constant. But all other signs, all other symbols, those are called binary constants. Binary constants कारण ये जो constant गुड़ा कहीं कि ताको binary कहा जाउची कारण दीटा proposition भितरे से constant गुड़ा आसीबो p or q, p implies q, p is equivalent to q. तेणु ए sign गुड़ा दीटा proposition मझिरे आसीबो. And for these signs we need two propositions. दुईटा proposition दरकार. So these are known as binary constants. Now let us symbolize some propositions with the help of these symbols. There is sun. This is a proposition. आमे केमिति वर्तमान सिम्बलाइज करिबा, प्रपोजिशन को केमिति सिम्बलाइज करिबा, आर्ग्युमेंट को केमिति सिम्बलाइज करिबा. एइथरु तुमको देख कारण तमर क्वेश्चन आसीबो सिम्बलाइज दिस प्रपोजिशन, सिम्बलाइज दिस आर्ग्युमेंट. देयर इज सन. फॉर देयर इज सन आई कैन राइट p. p इज ए वेरिएबल. देयर इज सन पई मु लेखिली p. देयर इज लाइट. फॉर दैट आई राइट q. q इज द वेरिएबल. If there is the proposition there is no sun, so what will be written? There is sun pai ame lekhichu p, there is no sun hele not p. Okay? Then there is no light. There is light pai ame kon neichu q neichu. There is no light kahile kon nabu not q. Jodi tumara asila there is sun and there is light. So here how will you write? There is sun pai तुमे नेला p, there is light pai नेला q and pai नेला dot. So here you write p and q. There is sun and there is light. So p and q. This is how you will symbolize the propositions. Either there is sun or there is light. Either or pai तमे use करूछ v sign. So it will be p or q, p or q. Then it is false that there is sun or there is no light. It is false. It is false by not lagaibo. So no, it is not that there is sun. There is sun by p. p there is sun or there is no light. एटी symbol टा भूल ही जाइए. और माने v आसीबो सेठी p or not q. It is not that p or not q. Okay? Now we will symbolize some propositions with the help of these variables and constants. तुमे तो variable जानिला, constant जानिला. वर्तमान आमे केमिति याकु proposition को symbolize करिबा आ argument को symbolize करिबा. This is the main question, and question also comes in your exam, these type of questions. There is sun. This is one proposition. For there is sun I write the variable p. Then there is light. For there is light I write q. There is no sun. There is sun pai mu lekhichi p. There is no sun pai mu kon lekhibi? Mu lekhibi not p. तापरे there is no light. There is light pai मु लेखिछि q. There is no light pai कौन लेखिबे? लेखिबे not q. Then there is sun and there is light. So here you see the logical connective is there and. There are two propositions. There is sun p, there is light q. So I will write p and q. Then either there is sun or there is light. So here there are two propositions, there is sun and there is light, and these two propositions are connected by the connective either or. So either or pai mu use karuchi V sign. So here I write P or Q. Now the next proposition, it is false that there is sun or there is no light. It is false that, it is false pai तुमे लेखिबो not. No, it is not that तामने not लेखिबो, bracket दबो, तापरे लेखिबो there is sun pai P or pai V, there is no light pai not Q. So तमे इठी लेखिला bracket आरंभरु तुमे लेखिलो not, then within bracket P or not Q. Okay. Now the next one is, if there is sun then there is light. There is sun is one proposition, there is light is another proposition. So two propositions are connected by the connective if then. So if then pai ame use करूछु horseshoe sign, ताकू कुहा जाउची implication sign, ame ताकू कहबा implies, P implies Q. So एई प्रकार रे आमे सबो प्रपोजिशन गुडा को सिंबलाइज करिबा, आमे वेरिएबल्स और कांस्टेंट द्वारा सबो गुडा को सिंबलाइज करिबा. So now we will discuss truth function. Truth function. What is this function? Function माने कोन? This function is used in mathematics. Mathematics रे आमे function टा को use करू. In mathematics, suppose we say that y is equal to x square. Y is equal to x square. Suppose mathematics रे आमे कहिलु y is equal to x square. ता माने कोन? ता माने होचे y is a function of the x. Because the value of y is determined by the value of x. If you assign the value 2 to x, then the value of y will be 4. If x takes the value 3, then the value of y will be 9. If x takes the value 4, then the value of y will be 16. So y is said to be the function of x. काहेकि ताकू फंक्शन कहा जाउची ना, the value of y depends on the value of x. So y is a function of x. This idea of the function is also used in your symbolic logic. In symbolic logic we have truth function. We say truth function. Now what is this truth function? If truth value of one proposition depends on the truth value of another proposition, then the first proposition is said to be the truth function of the other. जदि गोटे प्रपोजिशन रो ट्रूथ वैल्यू आउ गोटे प्रपोजिशन रो ट्रूथ वैल्यू उपरे डिपेंड करे, ताहेले फर्स्ट प्रपोजिशन टाकू कुहा जिवो ट्रूथ फंक्शन ऑफ द अदर. ओके, नाउ व्हाट डू यू मीन बाय ट्रूथ वैल्यू? व्हाट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ ट्रूथ वैल्यू? यू नो, a proposition is either true or false. A proposition is either true or false. So truth and falsity are the truth values of a proposition. Truth and falsity are the truth values of the proposition. A proposition will have one of the truth values. It cannot have both the truth values. तुम्हें कहि परिबनी जे एई proposition टा सेटा both true and false. एकाठी true and false हेई परिबो नाही. It will be either true or false. गोटे हबो, true हबो न हेले false हबो. गोटे proposition at one time it will be either true or false. It cannot be both true and false. किंतु ट्रुथ वैल्यू कहले आमे कौन बुझुचु से जो गोटे प्रपोजिशन ट्रू हम ना फॉल्स हम आइदर ट्रू हम ना फॉल्स हम से जो ट्रूथ एंड फॉल्सिटी दीज आर नोन आज द ट्रूथ वैल्यूज ऑफ द प्रपोजिशन. ओके, so when a proposition is true, its truth value is true and we write T for that. When a proposition is false, the proposition truth value of the proposition is false and the truth value is F. Now, you came to know what is truth value. Suppose let us take some examples. If I say Asia is the largest continent, this is a true proposition. This is a true proposition and its truth value is T. If I say Mahanadi is the longest river of Odisha, this is also a true proposition and its truth value is true or T. If I say sun rises in the west, this is a false proposition. So, its truth value is false or we can write F for that. And these are your simple propositions. These are your simple propositions. Simple proposition माने कौन? A proposition which expresses the relation between two terms, that is called a simple proposition. ता माने subject थिबो, predicate थिबो आउ copula थिबो, that is a simple proposition. Now, let us take another proposition. Let us take another proposition. Sun rises in the east and sun sets in the west. This is a compound proposition. It consists of two propositions. Sun rises in the east and sun sets in the west. This is a compound proposition. If I say, if there is sun, then there is light. Here there are two propositions, there is sun and there is light. So, two propositions are there. Two propositions are connected by the connective if then. This is also a compound proposition. If I say Ram is either intelligent or diligent, this is also a compound proposition. This is compound proposition. So, when we have a compound proposition, the truth value of the compound proposition depends on the truth value of the simple propositions. ମୁଁ ଯେତେବେଳେ କହୁଛି sun rises in the east and sun sets in the west, एटा है कंपाउंड प्रोपोजिशन कारण दुईटा प्रोपोजिशन नहीं करी हेची and बसिची कनेक्टिव. सो दिस इज ए कंपाउंड प्रोपोजिशन. आउ दुईटा प्रोपोजिशंस होचंती सिंपल प्रोपोजिशन. ए जो कंपाउंड प्रोपोजिशन हैला तार ट्रूथ वैल्यूटा आमे केमिति जानिबा? Truth value of the compound proposition depends on the truth value of the simple propositions. जे जो sun rises in the east and sun sets in the west, ए देटार truth value उपरे compound proposition रो truth value depend करिबो. So, truth value of the compound proposition depends on the truth values of the simple propositions. Now, if I say either Ram is intelligent or Ram is diligent, here also two propositions are there and they are connected by the connective either or. So, this is a compound proposition and truth value of the compound proposition ता माने compound proposition टा true हबो ना false हबो? सेटा कहा ऊपर डिपेंड करूची ना सिंपल प्रपोजिशंस गुड़ाकर ट्रूथ वैल्यू ऊपर डिपेंड करूची राम इज इंटेलिजेंट एंड राम इज डिलिजेंट तार ट्रूथ वैल्यू ऊपर डिपेंड करूची सो ट्रूथ वैल्यू ऑफ द कंपाउंड प्रपोजिशन डिपेंड्स ऑन द ट्रूथ वैल्यू ऑफ द simple propositions. If I say that either Ram is a good actor or he is a good singer, here also this is a compound proposition and truth value of this depends on the truth values of the simple propositions. So, here what happens, the compound proposition is said to be the truth function of its simple propositions. कंपाउंड प्रपोजिशन को कहा जाए जे एटा होची सिंपल प्रपोजिशन रा ट्रूथ फंक्शन आमु जते बेले तुमको कहितले इफ द ट्रूथ वैल्यू ऑफ वन प्रपोजिशन depends on the truth value of another proposition, the first proposition is said to be the truth function of the other proposition. गोटे प्रपोजिशन रा ट्रूथ वैल्यू जदि आर प्रपोजिशन रा ट्रूथ वैल्यू ऊपर डिपेंड करे ताहले फर्स्ट प्रपोजिशन टाको कुहा जिवो ट्रूथ फंक्शन ऑफ द अदर सेमिति तुमर जो कंपाउंड प्रपोजिशंस रही कंपाउंड प्रपोजिशन रा ट्रूथ वैल्यू जदि सिंपल प्रपोजिशन माने तार जो कंपोनेंट प्रपोजिशंस गुडा थिबो ता ऊपर डिपेंड करूची ताहले कंपाउंड प्रपोजिशन को कुहा जिवो जे इट इज द ट्रूथ फंक्शन ऑफ द सिंपल प्रपोजिशंस सो दिस इज द ट्रूथ फंक्शन सो द कंपाउंड प्रपोजिशन इज कॉल्ड truth function of its component simple propositions. Now, how do we know that the truth value of the compound proposition depends on the truth values of the simple propositions? केमिति जानिबा आमे केमिति जानिबा जे कंपाउंड प्रपोजिशन रो ट्रूथ वैल्यूटा सिंपल प्रपोजिशन ऊपर डिपेंड करूची फॉर दैट वी हैव टू कंस्ट्रक्ट ए ट्रूथ टेबल वी हैव टू कंस्ट्रक्ट ए ट्रूथ टेबल टू शो हाउ द ट्रूथ वैल्यू ऑफ द कंपाउंड प्रपोजिशन डिपेंड्स ऑन द ट्रूथ वैल्यू ऑफ द सिंपल प्रपोजिशंस. You know, there is one function that is called contradictory function. Contradictory function is the function of a single proposition. Contradictory function is the function of a single proposition. Contradictory function रे गोटिए proposition थाए. So, contradictory function truth value of the contradictory function is determined from two truth values of the single proposition. Okay? तेणु जदि गोटिए प्रपोजिशन तुमर रहिला से गोटिए प्रपोजिशन रे आमर केतेटा ट्रूथ वैल्यूज रो पॉसिबिलिटी थिबो ना दीटा. Okay? What is this contradictory function? First we will discuss what is contradictory proposition. Suppose a proposition is there. Ram is a good boy. This is a proposition. If we negate the proposition, then we will get a contradictory proposition. Suppose we say Ram is a good boy. Contradictory function. Suppose the proposition is Ram is a good boy. Ram is a good boy. This is one proposition. If we deny this proposition, if we negate this proposition, we will get a contradictory proposition. That means Ram is not a good boy. Not a good boy. गोटे प्रपोजिशन होची राम इज ए गुड बॉय आमे ताकू नेगेट कलु आमे ताकू डिनाय कलु डिनाय कला परे आमे कोन पाइबु राम इज नॉट ए गुड बॉय सो राम इज नॉट ए गुड बॉय दिस इज योर contradictory proposition. If Ram is a good boy, if this is true, Ram is not a good boy, this will be false. If Ram is a good boy is false, then Ram is not a good boy is true. Okay? So, this is your contradictory proposition. Now, we can symbolize this. Suppose we take one variable p. We take one variable p. We negate this variable, we deny the variable, we will get not p, not p. There is only one proposition we have p. So, p can be either true or false, p tar duita possibilities rahiche. This will be either true or false. If p is true, not p is false. If p is false, then not p is true. Okay? So, this is your contradictory function. This is a contradictory function. Truth value of this contradictory function depends on the truth value of this simple proposition. So, this is your contradictory function. When you have only one variable, you can find the truth value of the function from two possibilities, true and false. जदि तुमर गोटिए वेरिएबल रहिला गोटिए प्रपोजिशन रहिला ताहेले तुमे सेठी जो contradictory function टा पाइबो truth value of the contradictory function will be determined from the two truth values of the proposition. यार दीटा truth value रहिला either T or F. Okay? So, here what is the rule? What is the rule here? Rule is rule is 2 to the power n. 2 to the power n. N means number of propositions. N means number of propositions. If you have two propositions, 2 square, that means there will be 4 possibilities. So, you will determine the truth value of that from 4 possibilities. If the number of propositions is 3, then there will be 8 possibilities. If the number of propositions is 4, then there will be 16 possibilities. Now, let us see. Suppose there are two propositions. P and Q. Two propositions mean 2 square. So, 4 possibilities are there. So, truth value of the compound proposition will be determined from 4 possibilities. 4 possibilities कौन कौन? Both P and Q are true. P is true, Q is false. P is false, Q is true. P is false, Q is false. These are the 4 possibilities. तमे आकु भलरे मने रखि पारिबो T T F F T F T F. दीटा प्रपोजिशन जदि थिबो तुम पाखरे ताहेले there will be 4 possibilities. 4 possibilities P रे तुमे फर्स्ट प्रपोजिशन रे लेखिबो दुईटा T दुईटा F then Q रे लेखिबो T F T F. Suppose तुम पाखरे अछि 3 propositions. 3 propositions means PQR. PQR achi. So, truth value of this proposition will be determined from how many possibilities? 2 to the power 3, ता माने 8 possibilities. 8 possibilities रे तुमे कौन करिवो लिखिवो एठी अंडर P you have चारिटा T लिखिवो चारिटा false लिखिवो तुमको सुविधा हबो जानिबा पई तापरे आकु अधा करि दबो Q रे लिखिवो TF सॉरी आकु अधा कर दबो TT FF TT FF Q हला देन R को केमते लिखिबो पुनी आकु हाफ कर दबो दीटा T अछि गोटे T आ गोटे F TF 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 hela. So, if you have 3 propositions then you will get you will have 8 possibilities. Okay. Similarly, if you have 4 propositions then you will determine the truth value from 16 possibilities. जदि तुमर चारिटा propositions रहुची then 16 possibilities रहुची 16 possibilities रे सेमती करिवो जो मेथड मु तुमको कहिली सेही मेथड रे करिवो तुमे सपोज P Q R and S 16 ताकू प्रथमे कौन करिवो डिवाइड कर दबो दुईटा तो सुविधा पाई कहूचे टेक्निक कहूचे 16 जेहेतु अछि फर्स्ट रे तुमे लिखिवो 8टा T 8टा फॉल्स 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 पुणी 8टा फॉल्स 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 एटा है गला P 16 को हाफ कर दला वर्तमान तमे Q कोन लिखिबो T नैचो केतेटा T नैचो 8टा वर्तमान 8 को डिवाइड कर दबो 2 रे तो केते पाइबो 8 को डिवाइड करले 4 पाइबो 4 T's and 4 F's again 4 T's 4 F's पुणी R आसिला R परे कौन करिवो एठी चारिटा T अछि चारिटा T को पुणी डिवाइडेड बाय 2 तमे एठी लिखिलो दीटा T दीटा फॉल्स TT फॉल्स फॉल्स TT फॉल्स फॉल्स TT फॉल्स फॉल्स एमिति तुमे 16 टा लिखिबो S रे कौन करिवो पुणी जो दीटा T अछि ताकू गोटे T नबो गोटे F नबो TF 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 and you take this TF TF like this 16 टा 16 टा नबो ओके तेणु जदि गोटिए proposition thibo the truth value will be determined from 2 possibilities if 2 variables are there 2 propositions are there then the truth value will be determined from 4 possibilities if 3 variables are there then it will be determined from 8 possibilities if 4 variables are there it will be determined from 16 possibilities. So, in the next class we will discuss different functions like conjunctive function, disjunctive function, alternative function like this. Okay. Thank you students.